If you could live green, would you? I'm Nick Federoff, host of Things Green, where we introduce nuggets of green lifestyle from gardening, upcycling, answering your questions, sustainability, even discussing environmental issues. You can become more confident in making the right decisions for you and your family. So come along as we are Things Green.
Things Green is brought to you in part by
Southland Sod Farms, creators of genuine marathon sod. Pre-grown tall fescue grass. More information at sod.com.
Dram Garden Products, makers of watering tools since the 1940s. Committed to saving water with handheld tools, hoses, and water wands. More information at dram.com.
And that's the way you keep your plants moist. Hi, I'm inviting you to come down to one of the free home shows where I give free garden talks. All you have to do is go to my website, thingsgreen.com, to see when the dates and the venues are at.
Being out in the yard and garden has never been so fun. With playful laser cut, garden, pet, and yard signs. More information at InStyleSteel.com.
John Delmatoff Backhoe Service has been serving Southern California for over 22 years and is a proud supporter of Things Green.
Buying it seemed like such a good idea at the time, but it's just not working for you anymore. No worries, we'll take it. Habitat for Humanity Restore. Donate today to help people in your community build strength, stability, and self-reliance.
We're doing something pretty fascinating over here. We're shoring up this wall, and it's going to be called a bearing wall. And the reason for that is because there's a ginormous roof that's going to be built on top of it. So it has to bear or be able to take the weight of that roof. And what we've done here is that based on the architectural plans and the engineering, you have a 2x4. This is the existing 2x4 that came in the wall. Look how weathered it is, even though it's been in the wall the whole time. Well, they told us that we had to take a 2x6 and slip it in here, and then they tie it together. So now this makes it a 4x4. But before we could even get up to this process to do this, we had to come in, we tore everything down on the outside of this. That's down, it got into the dumpster. And then what was kind of an interesting thing, we went way up on top over here, there was the eave that was coming out that had to be cut off as well. Now, we had two very fascinating things happen. When I was talking to the inspector, he didn't tell us that we have to do a couple of extra steps. He just thought it would be nice to do it. And the first thing was, we ended up taking and putting up what is called a fire wall. This is a special drywall material, and it's called a 1-hour wall. And the reason why it's a 1-hour wall is that if this thing was to go up in flames, heaven forbid, it would take a much longer time for the fire to break through something like this, ergo giving the fire department a better chance for coming in and saving everything here, which is really nice. The second thing that he said was this. He said, it might be a nice idea. He didn't say I had to do it, wasn't written on the plans, and that was to insulate the wall. And it resonated with me when he said this, because I have somebody here that I've known for quite a long time, and he introduced me to something that was just pretty fascinating as far as I was concerned. And he was telling me the whole time, hey, you really ought to think about putting some insulation in some of your walls. And Mattie, you're the dude who did that, weren't you?
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Nick.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming out.
Yeah.
You work with hemp, don't you?
That's right.
Okay, ergo the name Hempitecture. So when we first met, he's at a trade show, and he's got a torch in his hand, and he's over here burning this composted stuff that would kind of look like a wall. And you're having fun with it, and I'm looking for when it's going to catch on fire, and it wasn't catching on fire, and it didn't make sense to me. What was that material?
Hempcrete. It's a hemp lime biocomposite that makes an insulating and fireproof wall assembly.
Wow. And you actually built a house out of that.
We've built 10.
10 houses already. Oh my goodness. We obviously don't talk enough. Now, since then, you've been messing around with hemp, and this guy's figured out how to take and insulate this wall. This is exciting stuff. Okay, so what are we starting off with here?
So today we're going to be working with Hempitecture hemp wool. It's a plant fiber-based insulation derived from the wooden biomass of industrial hemp. So what you're holding here is actually an industrial hemp stalk. You can see that there's sort of this inner wooden core, and then there's these exterior fibers. Hemp is a bast fiber, and it's kind of like it's wearing a jacket. So when we make our insulation material, we're actually pulling these exterior fibers off. We're putting them through a process that brings them to this. And once we have it...
Looks like a bird's nest.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's natural, it's lightweight, super strong, as we're going to find out when we go to cut this insulation.
Okay.
Very strong material. But this is then what is taken and made into hemp wool. So
Whoa. This is that?
This is that.
No way. Look at the difference between that. Okay, and this is insulation.
This is insulation, yep, and it's a one-to-one replacement for conventional insulation. This is more of a product that's going to be more versatile, good for really replacing fiberglass, spray foam, rock wool. This is a one-to-one replacement that we can just put in your studs and make your wall warmer and better off.
Okay, so if you were to take this material right here in this process and put it in the walls, is it doing the same thing as this?
It's not going to do the same thing, Nick, and the reason why is because this is a specifically manufactured product that's designed to be high performing for insulation. So the R value of this is R3.7 per inch. So for every inch you have 3.7 of thermal resistance. That is a pretty good value. That's actually exceeding most fiberglass products that are on the market. But because it's put through a special process that makes it essentially long-term stable, that is what makes this product long-lasting, durable, as well as contribute to a really energy-efficient home.
I've actually built a lot of homes in my time, and I've used the fiberglass. And short of putting a hazmat suit on, and even if you put a hazmat suit on, you're gonna start scratching, especially and itching, especially on a hot day.
That's right.
You can have the same thing with this?
Absolutely not. And you'll notice that I'm not even wearing a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
There's no other insulation on the planet that I would dare to install without a long sleeve shirt on.
Okay, you use the word R value. What does that R mean?
R stands for resistance, and R value refers to thermal resistance. In the United States, that's how we measure an insulation material's efficacy. How well does it perform? The higher the R value, the more high performing the material is going to be.
What's the R value of this?
The R value that we're going to be installing in your wall today is going to be R19.
R19. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Well, you know what? Let's get to work, man.
Let's do it.
This thing,
Let's
I can
do
feel
it.
the radiating heat off of this. Now, the scent off of this is very woodsy.
Very natural.
Yeah, it's very natural. So what are we doing with this?
So today we're going to take this Hempitecture hemp wool, which, as I mentioned before, 92% plant fiber. We're going to cut it to fit the width of your stud bays. We are going to notch around anything, say wiring or plumbing that we would have in the wall. We're going to install this with just a simple pressure fit. We don't need any glue or adhesives. This is just going to stay in place because it is a flexible yet pretty firm
Because on
material.
on your regular fiberglass that you're going to use, you're putting it in. It has those little tabs that you have to pull out, and then you usually take and staple it in. So we're circumventing that, which is a time saver.
This is a time saver, and one thing that we're going to find out, Nick, is that this is a very resilient material. As you mentioned, hemp fiber's been used since the dawn of time. In fact, I'm wearing 100% hemp clothes today.
Really?
Yeah, my shirt, my pants, all industrial hemp.
I told you it was soft.
So it's a resilient, strong fiber. But one thing that translates to is it's difficult to cut.
Oh.
So we're going to learn some of the techniques and the tricks to the trade of cutting Hempitecture hemp wool and working with it, because it is a little different than, say, working with fiberglass.
Okay, so the guy that delivered this, he was really excited about it. He had no idea what it was, and so we explained it to him, and he was just thrilled beyond belief. And it came in a plastic wrap, so we took the plastic wrap off. How do we start taking material off?
Yeah, so we'll just come from the top here. We'll grab a couple panels and we'll bring them over to our workstation over here.
Now here we have the tools of the trade, it looks
Yeah.
like. I'm noticing a theme over here with your tools, and that is you don't have, with the exception of this right here, this is the only serrated part, but this is a flat blade. All these are flat blades over here. So therefore we're not going to be ripping this while we're cutting.
You hit the nail on the head there. We're not using serrated blades. I mean, the reason being, it is going to take a little bit longer. It's going to take more effort. And
And it's ugly.
It's ugly. It's not clean. And when I'm working on a project, I like my project to be clean. I like my work to be well polished. I want people to see the material in the wall and say, wow, they did a good job. That is a good looking material.
And on a mildly windy day, this is going to fly all over the place.
It will fly all over the place. Most of the time this is installed indoors, so your mess is contained. But one of the unique attributes of this is there's no other insulation on the planet where, if there's fibers in the air, you're not worried about it. It's not a big deal. And that's because this is a natural fiber. So there is little harm to the lungs as a cause of breathing this in, respiring it. And again, this can go right on my skin. I'm not worried about it. So
that's a selling point right there. That's
yeah.
that's the deal breaker for me. All right, let's get some work done over
yeah,
here.
let's get some work done.
Okay, now that this whole thing is completed, the next process in this is to cover it up. This is CDX plywood that goes on here, and it's designed to hold everything back, and we're going to not have to do much more to this because this is technically the inside of the garage. So before we get the rest of this house built and the above part with a roof that'll protect it, I may paint it. And this way it'll protect it because you never know what the weather's going to do to it. Whether you have a landscape job or a construction job, it is extremely important that you keep your work area clean. And it's for safety reasons more than anything. You'll see on the ground over here, we have a whole bunch of nails. It's so simple for someone to just take and slip on something like this. On top of that, let's say there's a nail or something that gets lodged underneath these antiquated tires and you can't move your equipment around. I mean, it's just a big problem. Plus, you always just want to make sure that everything is done as safely as possible. Ergo, the reason why we wear safety goggles. Okay, so this is what we're going to do here. We can use a broom to, sweep up our debris, which is, a really important thing for us to kind of keep in mind over here. But we actually have some potential money right here in these nails. And this is a part of the recycle and reuse thing that we talk about here on the program all the time. When my father was a general contractor, one of the things he had us do when we were kids all the time was to pick up screws and nails. The reason why we do this is because they can get lodged into all kinds of tires. It's amazing how a screw or a nail can become a magnet for a tire. So therefore, we were on hands and knees taking and picking up all of the nails that would drop. It just happens. Now, speaking of the word magnet, the older I got, I realized that we can actually take and use something like this, which is a bar magnet, and it has wheels on it. Inside of this, someplace, is a magnet, and it's really cool. So we normally take and we come through and we pick up our nails first without ever having to bend. So the kids are going to really dig on something like this. And all you do is use it like a broom. Watch how it picks up these nails right through the trash. Oh, look at that. That's like magic. It is so awesome how this whole thing works. So what you'll want to do is just to go like this. You pick up the nails, and then you have a decision to make. See, look how nice this is. Oh, it's so cool. Now, I'm going to warn you right away. One of the things that you really want to do is that you really should wear a pair of gloves while taking all this off. But because these are so big and we're using this for demonstration purposes, we'll be able to just peel these off with no problem whatsoever. Now, what was really cool here was that after we did this after a couple of times, one of the guys that are working here, he said, "Hey, wait a minute. Are we going to take and we're going to reuse the nails?" And I got to thinking about it. Yeah, let's reuse some of these nails. You can't reuse all of them because you can't straighten them all out. But you want to know something? A part of the recycling and reused aspect of this is to understand that some of these nails are actually reusable. And we're going to show you how to do that right now. You could do this on the ground, or if you're fortunate enough to have one of these anvils right here, you can use an anvil to help straighten things out. So what you want to do is to choose the nails that really are not really so whacked out. So just for tickles, well, let's put these right here. I'm just going to pick this one up right here. And what I'm going to do is get myself a hammer. And by the way, you will pinch yourself with this if you're not careful. You just take yourself a hammer, kind of pound it out, and you know what we have here? A practically brand new nail. See the way that thing's moving? Isn't that too cool? Why throw that out? That costs money. So we're just going to come through and I'll show you how quickly we can do it. You're going to take your nail, you're going to find the high point of it and bring it up just to the top like this. And then you're going to take and carefully just smack it down. So how do we get all these bent nails in the first place? They have to come from someplace. You just don't pull them out of the box and all of a sudden there's a bent nail that we can straighten out and recycle and reuse. Well, the thing of it is that when you're doing construction work, a lot of times you'll take and you'll tear something out, and you'll want to take all the nails out because you want to reuse that piece of wood for something else. Or maybe you just made what the technical term is, a boo-boo, and you have to try to fix it. So here's an example of some things that we come across in the world of construction and with nails. You can tell these are pretty set nails, and we have some nails over here that are actually shooting out. Now, technically, they're all shooting out. Now, how in the world do you get these nails out of here in the first place? Well, if it's something like this, what we can do is you just take your hammer, and we turn the board around, and once we turn the board around, we have to be very careful. Grab it so that it's held properly, okay? It has a handle. Never choke up on your hammer like this. Always take it from the back like this, and then you start pounding as carefully as possible. Now, you don't necessarily want to go little tiny ones. Do some pretty sturdy hits to it to get that nail out. The further the nail out, the easier it is going to get it out of the board. So here we go. Okay, so once we have that like this, we have a lot of different ways of pulling this nail out. And by the way, this is where the nail actually ends up bending on us. You can take your, what is called a claw hammer, and this right here is the claw part of the hammer. And it goes right in there, and it's actually a little bit sharp in there. And then the reason for that is because it's gonna take and it's gonna pull this out. Now, you can take and you can start yanking on this, and wait a minute, it's not going. If you're strong enough, it might work. So what we do is we can go like this. We can get have a little help from just a little piece of wood, and it's just a scrap wood, and we put it as close to the nail as possible. Then we put our ears in here, but yeah, those are called ears as well. And then we could take and we have some leverage, and we could pull this out. See how it's coming out? Isn't that kind of neat? And then we pull it out the rest of the way. There's a lot of other ways that you can take these things out, and I'm going to show you an antique tool that I used to use as a kid. Don't use them any longer, but this right here is also called a nail puller. I mean, look at this thing. Look at this little claw thing right here, okay? I'll give you an example here. Let's pretend that this was the head itself still inside. It will have grabbed this. You would have grabbed it like this, and then you would have taken and you would have pulled it out in this fashion. See that? You're not going to find one of these anywhere. I can guarantee that. In fact, I would say that if you were to show this to most contractors, they'd have no idea what it was, because it's that old school. All right, here's another way of getting rid and getting these nails out. Most people aren't going to have this tool either, but it's really fun, and I decided to invest in it. It's an air gun tool, and inside this little thing right here, there's a hammer. We'll take and push. I'm holding it now. That will take and that will push out your nail. Let me show you how it works on this. In fact, I'm going to take these other ones out too. You got to be very careful, because if you don't, this thing can shoot out like crazy. So all you need to do is to straddle it like this. It goes away. Boom! Okay, we just shot our our camera operator. Sorry about that. Let me see if this one will stay inside the wood. Sometimes they stay in the wood and sometimes they don't. All right, so I'm going to go like this, and then you watch what happens with this. Oh, that one took off too, 1,000,000 miles an hour. And let's see if this one does too. Ah, see how that worked? Right there. We have to decide how we're going to take it out. We can use our claw hammer, or are we going to use this right here? A crowbar can have sometimes nail pullers on them. So here's a little claw right here on this crowbar. And then if you come on this other end, it has a claw on here as well. And then it has this. And this is for pulling out nails too. So we could either straddle this and pick it up right here, or because it's very sharp, it might just grab way down here. Or we can decide that we're going to use that block thing again, and we could put a block over here and we could pull it out. Or oddly enough, we can take and put this inside like this and then use it to pick up and take out our nails. So I think what I'm gonna do right here is I'm gonna use this part, and we're just gonna grab hold and we're gonna pull. Look how this is coming out, see that? Yeah. And then we have a nice crooked nail that we could straighten out and use once again. So who would have thought that there was so much involved in taking nails out of a piece of wood? But the best part about this whole thing is that even though this is full of holes, we could still use this for different things. We could use it for blocking, we could use it in other areas for uprights or laterals or who knows what it is. So that's the way that you would take and you would get rid of and you would actually recycle and reuse not only your nails, but the wood on your project as well. Thanks for joining me on another excursion of Things Green. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain so you can become exposed to a green lifestyle inside and outside of the home and community, all on your terms. Join me next time right here as we help you with Things Green.
Things Green is brought to you in part by
Southland Sod Farms, creators of genuine marathon sod. Pre-grown tall fescue grass. More information at sod.com.
Dram Garden Products, makers of watering tools since the 1940s. Committed to saving water with handheld tools, hoses, and water wands. More information at dram.com.
And that's the way you keep your plants moist. Hi, I'm inviting you to come down to one of the free home shows where I give free garden talks. All you have to do is go to my website, thingsgreen.com, to see when the dates and the venues are at.
Being out in the yard and garden has never been so fun. With playful laser cut, garden, pet, and yard signs. More information at InStyleSteel.com.
John Delmatoff Backhoe Service has been serving Southern California for over 22 years and is a proud supporter of Things Green.
Buying it seemed like such a good idea at the time, but it's just not working for you anymore. No worries, we'll take it. Habitat for Humanity Restore. Donate today to help people in your community build strength, stability, and self-reliance.